we have an easy time judging the Torah. I tell somebody, listen, if you're a Jew and you drive on Shabbat, according to the Rambam, which from there we get all of our halachot, which he himself got it from the Gemara, which talks about Rabban Yochanan, which talks about Rabbi Akiva. That's where we got it all from. So according to the Rambam, Ilchot Shabbat, chapter 30, he says if you violate Shabbat, you drive to the Knesset on Shabbat, you play with your phone on Shabbat, you light fire on Shabbat, you carry things outside of a Eruv on Shabbat, you do all those things, you're Mechalel Shabbat. And a Jew is a Mechalel Shabbat is considered an idol worshipper. Not considered just bad person. Could be a nice person. But in Hashem's eyes, they're considered an idol worshipper, which is the worst possible thing you can be viewed at from Shemaim. Meaning the punishment that Hashem gives a murderer, somebody just killed somebody, works for the mafia, 25,000 a head, shoots people once a week. Once a week he kills people. Says, listen, if Hashem wanted me to give me better partners, say, give me a better job. This one pays the most. 25,000 a head. I work once a week. The rest of the week I study Torah. The rest of the week he's in a kollel. 25,000. But he keeps Shabbat. He keeps Shabbat. Thank you, Steve Mitzvot. He keeps Shabbat. The punishment for him is not as severe as someone that's not a murderer, but drives on Shabbat to the Knesset. Not only drives on Shabbat, he drives to the Knesset to do mitzvah, to go pray with the minyan. He drives on Shabbat to the Knesset. That person is in a much, much worse shape than the murderer. Now you tell this to people, it doesn't make sense. Rationally, it doesn't make sense. I agree, it doesn't make sense. But the Torah is not supposed to be rational. Rational means human. Rational means it makes sense to you. Who says it's supposed to make sense to you? Who says that Hashem owes you an explanation? Ivelet Adam tisalef darko ve'al Hashem yiz'af libo. Proverbs 19:3. Shlomo HaMelech says, the foolishness of man, meaning his sins, perverts his way, meaning it brings him to punishment, but his heart frets against Hashem, meaning that after a person sins, he gets punished. 13 principles of faith that we have. There's measure for measure, meaning righteous person gets reward, wicked person gets punishment. Measure for measure. Shlomo HaMelech is telling us here is that someone sins, goes against Hashem, Hashem punishes him, and what does he do? He gets mad at Hashem. He gets mad at Hashem like it's Hashem's fault. You sinned. What are you blaming Hashem for punishing you? He told you he's going to punish you. He said, B'chalel Shabbat mot yumat. What are you so upset? The kid died in a car accident. He said, mot yumat. What, do you think he was joking? Or maybe he didn't mean about you. Or a guy lost all of his money. Well, he told you, stop stealing. I didn't steal. Did you lend money? Yes, I didn't steal. You lend money to another Jew? Yes, I lent money to another Jew. I did a mitzvah. But you charged him interest? Of course, I'm going to make any money. That's stealing, my friend. Not allowed to charge another Jew interest. Unless he's in Mechalel Shabbat. Unless he violates Shabbat. Rav Ovadia Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha explained the halacha about a Mechalel Shabbat to such an extent that he told us you are allowed to charge a Mechalel Shabbat interest based on the fact that once he's a Mechalel Shabbat, he's no longer considered part of Am Yisrael. It's to that extent. And anyone that knows even a little bit about Rav Ovadia was very lenient on many things. He looked for leniencies. He looked for ways to even help the basic people. People that weren't Talmidim Chachamim. So for him to say something like that, you know it's not a joke. But people have an easy time going against the Torah. And the reason why is because they think that just because their local rabbi is called rabbi, and perhaps maybe he's ignorant, or he's this, or he's that, or he doesn't know the ways of the world, or he doesn't know an answer to every single question that everyone asks, Or they just don't know what he knows, but he just doesn't have the look of a smart person. His beard's too long. Or it's too short. I'm not sure yet. So they don't think that it's he's smart. So they say, so he believes in Torah? Nah, it's just stories. And they easily just go against it. No, it's one time I told the guy, I'm like, listen, this is what it says in Parashat Kitisa. Parashat Kitisa talks about a Mechalel Shabbat, what happens to them, has no share of the world to come, and so on and so forth. And the guy tells me, no, that's your commentary. That's your pirush. You translated it that way. I bet you I can give you a different translation. I said, no, but it's not a translation. This is what it means, literally. If you understand Hebrew, this is what the words mean. Mot yumat, death upon death. What is it? You can't die twice. You die once. So what's the second death? No share of the world to come. Nichreta nefesh me'amea. What's cut off from the nation? If you already died twice, where are you being cut off from? If nichreta nefesh, if cut off meant death, why would it be a third time? Because nichreta means cut off. Cut off from what nation? Cut off from Am Yisrael. Meaning, no longer considered Jewish. This is not a commentary. This is literally what it says. You just never read it. I never read it. Until I read it. And once I read it, I said, I guess they weren't joking. I guess this Rabban Yochanan wasn't kidding.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by Torahanytime.com.